Okay, this video is going to be an interesting one. We're going to talk about the new Tavily. I think it's pronounced Tavily. We're going to talk about the new Tavily MCP server. First, I'm going to give you some context. So Tavily released their own official MCP server. And until now, there was a Tavily MCP server created by the community. Tavily's been around for a while. It is a search and scraping tool made specifically for LLMs. I found it after using Serper for a few months. I just found when I used Tavily over Serper, I got better results for what I was looking for. And I tried the community MCP server for Tavily and I didn't find it that great. So I went back to Brave Search. And Brave Search has been awesome and I've done a lot of videos on using Brave Search. But now that Tavily finally released their own MCP server, I wanted to integrate it. The difference between Brave and Tavily is Brave is really good at doing broad internet searches. It's been really useful when I combine it with sequential thinking, with Fetch, with Puppeteer, inside Claude, and with Cursor. But sometimes you want a little bit deeper research. You want to go in there and get the details. And while I was able to get this with Brave eventually, Tavily usually gets to the point really quickly. So let's just switch gears really quickly and you'll see where I'm going. OpenAI over the last 2 months has released a lot. O1 full, they released Sora, they released a few agentic things like tasks, operator, and deep research. Tasks, to be honest, has been a bit of a letdown. I keep trying to make it work for me and it doesn't do exactly what I want. I haven't found operator to be as life-changing as I thought it would be, at least not yet. There's a lot of limitations there and I'm still playing with it. And once I find something that I think is actually valuable, I'll make a video on it, but we're not there yet. But deep research by OpenAI is amazing. I've been using it daily and I find it to be so powerful. I don't want to overuse this analogy, but I do think that OpenAI's deep research really is that jump from GPT-2 to even GPT-4o. Just the detail of the research it does and then the detail of the paper that comes out is amazing. And I found some really cool things. I'm not going to share it all with you. I'm going to share one thing with you and then how I paired it with Notebook LMs. So I've spoken about my fiance. We just came back from treatment abroad and we're just trying to figure out, how to boost our energy in a safe way. And one thing that came up was creatine. And I don't know anything about creatine. What I ended up doing was asking deep research to look into creatine for me and for her to understand, is it safe for her to take in her situation as immunosuppressed? Came back 6 minutes later with a really detailed response. The pros, the cons for someone that is recovering from cancer. This is just one example of some of the deep research I did. And I've actually been fact checking with various sources to make sure this is real, this is not a hallucination. And that's hard in and of itself. But so far, I found that everything I put into deep research has come back like 90% correct. So I'm very confident that deep research, while it might have hallucinations, is much lower than GPT-4o or any modern LLM right now because it really goes through that iterative process and kind of weeds out the bullshit. So anyways, what we get is this really long paper and it's great, but it could take you a long time to read it. I had an idea of taking this whole thing and then having Notebook LM explain it back to me. And it is such a cool workflow. So I'll just show it to you. So I took this whole output that we're still scrolling through and I put it into Notebook LM. You can just have it create a podcast based on all the sources you put in. So in short, what I've been doing is I've been using OpenAI's deep research, putting it into Notebook LM and having it create a podcast and then just listening to that. And because with deep research from OpenAI, we get a PhD level report, putting that into Notebook LM and then listening to a podcast is amazing. I've just learned so much from this and this is a powerful workflow. That being said, it is not a cheap workflow. So I've seen a lot of people replicating deep research or trying to replicate deep research. I've tried some of them out. I haven't seen anything really replicate OpenAI's deep research in quality. That being said, I'm sure we're going to get to a point where there will be a full open source deep research that is comparable to OpenAI's tool. So anyways, Tavily released their MCP server, their official MCP server, and around the same time, I saw this post that they made on LinkedIn about do yourself deep research. So it's this whole iterative process that uses Tavily to create a deep research type response. I haven't tried this one yet, but I started thinking, can we replicate this on some level with Claude Desktop and MCP servers? So that's what I've been doing. So first, I'm going to show you how to add Tavily to MCP, and then I'm going to show you what I've been building. And it's not perfect yet. I've been iterating on this for about 24 hours now. I keep hitting those rate limits, having to wait. And again, this is not building a whole thing like they did here because this is all within Claude Desktop, meaning the whole way we're doing this is with custom instructions, which in and of itself could be tricky the more instructions you give it. But I think it's been getting better and I want to show it to you. Just to show you, Tavily has a free plan just like Brave. You get about 1,000 API credits per month. To compare that, Brave Search gives you 2,000 API credits per month. So what I've done is I start my deep research with Brave and then I go into Tavily. And that way I'm able to take a little credits from here, a little bit credits from here, and not waste my Tavily credits. And what's really cool about Tavily is they also have this pay-as-you-go model. Here is Tavily's own MCP server. You can see it's hosted from their own GitHub. They have two main tools within the Tavily MCP server. There's search and extract, and using them together is really powerful. This should install really quickly. Same as always, if you're doing this with Claude, you just go into the MCP servers, you just take this part down to here, copy and paste it into your config file. And by the way, some people have written to me about installing via Smithery. And if you haven't noticed, I like to have a level of control. So this is how I like to do it regardless. Okay, so now we're in VS Code, and as you see here, I just went to the bottom of my config file, I added a comma, and I added this in. So you paste this in, and of course, don't forget to add in your API key here. You save your config file and commit it to Git. Now, back to Claude. Now, I've created this new project called Deepest Research, Tavily plus Sequential Thinking. I'm just going to show you my custom instructions. So I've been iterating on this a lot. I added XML, added so much to this, and I think it's doing pretty well. In this project, we're going to use Brave Search, Tavily, and Sequential Thinking. In earlier iterations, I also included Fetch and Puppeteer and a bunch of other tools, but I realized that by simplifying it just to these three main tools, I still get a great output without confusing Claude. So I wrote this whole custom instructions I'll share with you. The bottom line, this Claude project uses Sequential Thinking, Brave Search, and Tavily to do deep research. Now, it's not giving me a very long response like OpenAI's deep research, and that's for various reasons. From a fundamental level, within Claude Desktop, we're not going to be able to replicate OpenAI's deep research. One thing I took from deep research from OpenAI is I baked in the clarifying questions. And I also took what I liked from deep research from Google and I added a step to verify and confirm the research plan. And I found that being able to, first of all, focus in by clarifying questions and then being able to redirect Claude by looking at its plan and saying, no, change it before it goes into research gives me great responses. I'm just going to show it to you really quickly. I'm going to put a similar prompt in. What are the benefits of taking creatine for a 35-year-old male that works out 3 times a week? I put these like stop points in. So clarifying questions, no pre-existing conditions. Well, only baldness. Okay, so I answered its clarifying questions. Now step 2 is giving me the research planning, and it will only move forward if I confirm it. It's also planning out what tool it's going to use for what part. So you see here, Brave Search for broad studies, Tavily for specific performance metrics. Tavily for detailed neurological studies, Sequential Thinking for pattern analysis. So here's a research execution plan. Begin with Brave Search, use Sequential Thinking, deploy to Tavily Search, integrate findings across themes using Sequential Thinking, focus on practical applications. So I'm going to say yes. So you see here, it's really going through it. Brave, sequential, 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 Tavily, sequential, Brave, sequential, sequential, sequential. So now it's doing the final report. It took a lot quicker than deep research by OpenAI. The quantity of output is also a lot shorter than OpenAI's, but it's detailed. And I think it comes out pretty good. That's funny. It didn't get my joke there. It took my baldness thing as something seriously. Multiple subsequent studies have failed to demonstrate direct causation with hair loss. Okay, so that's what it came up with. Again, it's not perfect, but I think it's pretty cool. I don't think we're going to be able to replicate OpenAI's deep research for various reasons, but what I like about this is it's a bit shorter than deep research. I definitely suggest putting MCP to the side and trying OpenAI's deep research. If someone has an interesting idea for something I should put into deep research, tell me. I'll run it in OpenAI's deep research and then I'll put it into Notebook LM and I'll show you because it's really, really cool. Let me know if you think Tavily is better than Brave Search. Let me know if you want to try my deepest research Claude project. I'm going to share the custom instructions anyways. I hope you found this video helpful or insightful. If you have any feedback or questions, drop them in the comments below. Especially if you have an idea for what I should test with deep research, either with OpenAI or with deepest research. If you have any ideas on how to improve the custom instructions here, let me know. If you haven't done it already, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and also like the video. It really helps me grow. Thank you for watching and have a great day.